This podcast was recorded the day after the assassination of Charlie Kirk. Since it was recorded, it has been massively overtaken by the news. But, as I often say, people don't come to this show for the latest news. This episode is not about the news event as such, it's about the background to the news event.
I can barely get my arms around the enormity of this. Charlie is such a dear man, and he's such an important cultural figure. He is one of the bravest people I know. He's been so unfairly demonized by his detractors. At every turn, he's been villainized by people who disagree with him politically. And that messaging can sink in. I'm not blaming anyone. I don't know exactly who did it, and I don't know the motivations are, but I know that a lot of hate has been stirred up for Charlie that is grossly disproportionate to the messaging he's bringing to this world.
And welcome to If It Weren't For Us, You'd All Be Speaking German, our podcast.
Yes.
Daniel.
Yes.
So, this is kind of an emergency gathering, I suppose, to record.
A luminary figure of American politics has been killed. And we get to talk about it.
I'm told a sort of MLK level figure.
Oh, believe me, you haven't heard the audio yet, but yes, we're gonna go there. A towering figure of American politics, of American social life, a towering intellect has been lost.
So we are, of course, talking about the fact that yesterday, as of recording, Charlie Kirk, the fascist propagandist Charlie Kirk, was murdered by rifle, apparently.
Yep.
At a Turning Point, his organization, TPUSA, Turning Point USA, one of their sort of university campus debate show thingamajigs in Utah.
It was the first event in what was going to be like a 15-day event called the American Comeback Tour. He's been advertising it for the last couple of weeks, I think. And it's just like one of his, he does these events. He actually goes around the country like, he did. He doesn't anymore.
No.
I don't know. They might wheel him around and have him fly out, debate college kids from that's a little morbid, but he spoke hundreds of times a year in front of crowds of various sizes, and most of those were public. So this is not an unusual thing for Charlie Kirk. He regularly would record those and even put them on the podcast feed. They just became episodes of the podcast, the events that he did. And so I've listened to a whole lot of him talking in these kinds of like big crowd setups.
So he's on stage, and he's, as I understand it, he's in the middle of talking about gun violence, gun massacres, and specifically responding to a question from the audience about trans shooters.
Yes.
And somebody says to him, do you know how many gun massacres or mass shootings there have been in the States in the last 10 years? And he is in the process of, he is responding with a racist dog whistle where he says,
"Oh, yes.
Are you counting gang shootings?" or something like that. And immediately after he says that, he is shot through the neck once.
Yes.
And I haven't seen any of the footage, but I'm told that it's horrifying.
It's really bad. It's I've seen it.
Of course it is. He was shot through the neck with a rifle. That's going to be horrifying. And he died in hospital, I think, an hour or a couple of hours later. He is dead.
I mean, they announced it. I mean, I mean, it really was the kind of thing like anybody who saw the footage was like, oh no, he's dead. And we'll get there. Megyn Kelly, I'll wet the whistle of the audience here. Megyn Kelly went on the air after the shooting, but before the death was announced, and so we get live reactions, like the actual live thoughts. As they thought he was going to die, maybe he wasn't going to die. So we're going to get to listen to a bit of that today. In fact, you heard a little bit of that on our Code Open. So
the closest you get from Megyn Kelly to unfiltered honesty, I suppose.
Yes.
Charlie Kirk is he's kind of one of those figures who's been haunting this podcast the entire time. He was on our most recent, or one of our most, I can't remember, but one of our most recent episodes where we talked about Zoran Mamdani, and we played sections of a discussion between him and Megyn Kelly about Zoran Mamdani, where he came out with just a litany of, again, racist, Islamophobic comments and lies and so on and so forth, because that was the man's job. That was his career. He was a professional liar in order to further a racist, fascist agenda. That was his identity. That was his job. He devoted his entire life to that. A
Christian nationalist agenda as well, like very explicitly Christian nationalist.
Yes, a Christo-fascist agenda, absolutely.
Yes. And
we kind of talked about this a little bit before we started recording. He has popped up at the periphery of this show this podcast, a few times before. Yes. Yeah, he came up, of course, in the course of the episode, or one of the episodes that we did about Kyle Rittenhouse.
He did, yes.
A gun murderer who Charlie Kirk championed and promoted and lionized and turned into a public messiah.
Yeah, look at how cute his dogs are, was essentially what that interview was all about. Yeah. I think that's part of the bit we played. I didn't go back and re-listen to it, but we did. He has been on this show before. We have discussed Charlie Kirk briefly. So
obviously not found guilty in court, but certainly by my measurement, a lone nut murderer with a rifle. And he was also in the Groyper War episode that we did, because of course the immediate conclusion that the entire right has jumped to, and as far as I can tell, most people on the left actually, is that Charlie Kirk was killed by somebody on the left. We do not know. That is the truth of it. Yeah. There's been a lot of speculation and rumors and so on swirling about, well, there was a whole fucking clusterfuck about, have they arrested somebody? Have they arrested two people, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And more of that. I mean, I don't know if we're going to talk much about this, but there was a statement about bullets they found with trans ideological.
It was worth that. Was
some shit like that.
That's one of those things. The Wall Street Journal. I have that. It's linked in the show notes. I don't have a quote from it, but ammunition in Kirk shooting found engraved with transgender anti-fascist ideology. Just treated as fact. And then little law enforcement came out an hour later and yeah, that's a bunch of shit. We never said that. So the journalistic standard at the Wall Street Journal. We will publish all the materials about the Jeffrey Epstein, Donald Trump birthday card sex thing. We'll publish that. Brave on that. Also, we'll just smear trans people for no reason. So,
of course.
I mean, you take the good with the bad, I guess. Jesus Christ. Actually, you don't have to hand it to the Wall Street Journal. Anyway.
No.
So that is linked if you want to go view it, you can go view it. So, yes.
Indeed. The point I was working around to was that Charlie Kirk was the subject of a long-running vendetta by the Groypers, Nick Fuentes and the Groypers. So it is at least as possible that it was one of them that shot him.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, so I did put out a thing on my Blue Sky. This is the first time I've tried this, so maybe we'll do it in the future as well. But I did put out a, kind of thing like, hey, if you got questions you want me to answer, this is kind of right on one of those. So let's just someone I'm not going to name this. I'm not going to name these people, but everyone's assuming the assassin was a left radical and MAGA are pushing that narrative. But how feasible is it that it was a far right actor? Nick Fuentes supporters regularly disrupted Kirk's campus events for not embracing a harder line on immigration and rejecting openly homophobic, and then it cuts off, but language or something. That's probably what was intended there. So we're not going to speculate. I don't have any data. I don't have any reason to have any data.
No, we don't know
on this. In my heart, I feel one way about it, but we don't know. And since we don't know, I don't have any facts. I'm not going to report anything. It very easily could have been a right-wing person. There's no reason to think this was, some Antifa, some Trantifa or whatever, like some trans radical anti-fascist was out there with a rifle. No, there's no reason to assume anything at all at this point. And so there's no reason to comment on it, except it very easily could have been a right-wing supporter, probably not a Nick Fuentes type, but one of the accelerationists, one of the Gulu types that we used to talk about pretty regularly. Very easily could have been a descendant from one of those groups. So there's no reason, until we have more data, there's no reason to discuss it. But when we do have more, presumably we will discuss it at some point on this podcast. So, but that's all I'll say about that.
So what I was saying was that he's one of the figures who's kind of haunted the periphery of this show,
Yeah.
as one of those people who's been very much involved, of course, in the rise of fascism in the United States over the last few years, and certainly connected to the kinds of people and subjects that we generally consider our beat, but not quite on our beat. You know, it's one of those things. People have often said, are you going to do a Jordan Peterson episode? Are you going to do a Ben Shapiro episode? And our attitude, and, you know, Charlie Kirk's, you know, he has, at least in the past, I think he's become more radical and more tied in with the extreme over time. But he's kind of been one of those people where our answer to that has always been not quite our focus, really.
Yeah, well, I mean, so it's weird because in 2025 we just have to kind of discuss everything. But for a long time I kind of thought, well,
because it's gone mainstream. Our focus is now merged with the mainstream.
So I'm working on this. I've been working on this Megyn Kelly monstrosity for so fucking long at this point that my brain is going out of my ears. I'm so tired of listening to Megyn Kelly. We're going to listen to Megyn Kelly. You already heard some Megyn Kelly, but we're going to listen to more of Megyn Kelly today because it's easy to. I've always got a Megyn Kelly clip available to me. Yeah, we're doing some of these more normie figures because the normies there's less distance between the normies and the you know, right now, not extremist is a term I typically use, but you know, kind of in context, you understand where I'm going for. So there is, again, I have another question, so I can just kind of do it right now if you want. I'm responding to you, but I can also, given the recent fractures appearing on the right-wing shit spreader scene, Israel, Iran, Epstein, ... do you think this could be a moment of galvanization for the far-right media, a kind of reset point? I think we're going to kind of be answering that question just in general over the course of the episode. So I'm not going to do like a full answer to that here. But I think it is important to note that somebody like a Charlie Kirk or a Ben Shapiro or Charlie Kirk, Ben Shapiro, Megyn Kelly, Jack Posobiec, since like 2017, you know, they didn't attend Unite the Right. They would never embrace like the openly anti-Semitic stuff that like the Daily Show or Nick Fuentes and, you know, some of those figures have. And so there's a real dividing line between like, do you blame the Jews or not? And this is like a real kind of hard and fast line. You know, somebody like a Charlie Kirk, he has certainly said anti-Semitic things, but they were in the context of they're Jewish and not Christian, and not that like all Jews are like the spawn of Satan or all Jews are like genetically programmed to. He leans somewhat closer to that direction, but he fought that, and a lot of that is because, you know, the funding, and then, you know, if you want to get funded by the mega donors, you have to toe the line on Israel to a certain degree. And so like that's the thing that you know, Nick Fuentes is never going to be invited into the big boys club, you know, for that reason. And so so that there's a dividing line there. And I always thought like our dividing where we were was on the openly anti-Semitic side, on the openly like science junk, all that kind of stuff. And then as that stuff has become as the world's gotten closer together, we just by definition we're just covering more of the mainstream stuff. But I thought Charlie Kirk was kind of boring, especially back in like 2019. It's like he's just using rhetorical tools, you know. I mean, it's like debaters tricks. That's how Charlie Kirk succeeded in his career, was he got really good at knowing how to debate. And so like not in the classical sense, not in the sense of like actually like bringing compelling arguments, but in the sense of like knowing how to work a crowd and knowing how to get the word in edgewise, etc. You know, like those kind of things. So I'm not good at that at all. Charlie Kirk was a master of it. You never have to hand it to Charlie Kirk. He was great at that kind of bullshit, you know. Of course he was.
Yes, he was good at the thing that we call debate now, which is a sort of public performance of answering objections.
Yes,
that he was good at. He was good at gish galloping and evading the point and obfuscation and all that sort of stuff. Yes, he was very good at that.
Yeah, and in the slimiest way, like Mehdi-san, I've expressed some admiration for Mehdi-san.
Pure
Mehdi-san
slime,
is also
just slime dripping off his, you know, just pouring out of every pore of his skin, just endless gallons of ichor, just flowing from him like Niagara fucking Falls.
Yes. But Mehdi-san is doing it, and mostly for purposes that we agree with, and also it's a lot more ethical about it. You know, Charlie Kirk is just a slime ball, you know. But again, you know, not to say. Again, we're not directly comparing the two, but, you know, man, it would have been nice to get like a one-on-one debate with those two at some point. I would love to see Mehdi-san just wipe the floor with Charlie Kirk. But alas, we're never going to get it. But anyway, so Yeah, we've discussed Charlie Kirk a bit before. I don't know. Do we want to do like a little bit like a? I did link to this old piece in the New York Times Magazine. It's from I think February or March of this year. It's from earlier this year, and it's kind of an in-depth like history of Charlie Kirk. There's a podcast episode that's on the New York Times. They're the daily podcast that kind of goes into this detail. I don't know that we need to like discuss who Charlie Kirk is and that kind of detail. I'd really kind of talk about who he is kind of moving forward. But if you do want us, if the audience does want us to kind of go through some of this history, I'm happy to do so as well. But it's just not what we're here to do today, if that's okay with you, Jack.
Yeah, sure. But I think there is some value in stating a few things clearly.
Absolutely.
I agree, but I want to state clearly who this man was. This man was a fascist.
Yes.
This man spent his adult life being a professional fascist. He spent his adult life as a liar, a propagandist, spreading racism, sexism, Islamophobia, bigotry, hatred, cruelty, sadism. He advocated all manner of just absolutely atrocious, indefensible things. He was homophobic, transphobic. He was evil.
Yes.
That is the truth about
Absolutely.
Charlie Kirk. He was evil. So, I just want to be clear about what we're talking about.
Yeah, we're not, we're not that I think anybody would think that we're going to be fans of Charlie Kirk here, but the fact that he's not as far right as like a Mike Enoch or Nick Fuentes or Nando Angela does not mean he wasn't like an awful human being. In fact, due to the fact that he ingratiated himself from the time he was like 18 years old into the Republican Party, and that he has had the support of the Republican Party, and that he has then in turn supported the Republican Party, it makes him more insidious in this kind of disgusting way. And that the way that like things are coded. And I think that what we're seeing, I mean, I guess we'll talk about the Ezra Klein piece. I guess we'll mention that.
Yes.
We won't go into this in detail, but Ezra Klein put out a very, I don't know. I have a love-hate relationship with Ezra Klein. When he's good, I think he's very good. And when he's not, I think he's just atrociously awful. And here he's being, he's doing the, well, aren't we above it all? Here, I've got a quote. If you don't mind, I can read a little quote to you.
Yeah, go ahead.
This is from the piece. You can dislike much of what Kirk believed, and the following statement is still true. Kirk was practicing politics in exactly the right way. He was showing up to campuses and talking with anyone who would talk to him. He was one of the era's most effective practitioners of persuasion. When the left thought its hold on the hearts and minds of college students was nearly absolute, Kirk showed up again and again to break it. Slowly, then all at once, he did. College-age voters shift sharply right in the 2024 election. That was not all Kirk's doing, but he was central in laying the groundwork for it. I did not know Kirk, and I am not the right person to eulogize him, but I envied what he built. A taste for disagreement is a virtue in a democracy. Liberalism could use more of his moxie and fearlessness. In the inaugural episode of his podcast, Governor Gavin Newsom of California hosted Kirk, admitting that his son was a huge fan. What a testament to Kirk's project. Gag me with a goddamn spoon. That is like the most, milk toast. And it's like emblematic of the way that people are talking about it in like the center and like the, progressive circles and like the New York Times is like, well, he was a very talented influencer. He was able to persuade. He had the gift of gab. What we're doing today is we're going to discuss exactly what kinds of things he had to say with that persuasive rhetoric, etc. So, because
that is such absolute steaming fucking horseshit. That is radioactive fucking toxic waste from Ezra Klein. And I want to quickly read a response to Ezra Klein from friend of the show, former guest Marissa Kabas, who came on to talk to me about George Santos way back when, before she got big.
Yeah, please posted, come back. We'd love to have you again.
She's great. She posted this on Blue Sky. It's an email that she sent to Ezra Klein in response to that fucking article that she turned into an open letter by doing this. This is her. Ezra, your piece. I'm constantly reading her on this show. I don't know. It feels weird somehow, but I don't mean it that way.
You're a fan. It's okay. We're fans. We're not creepy old men. We're fans. It's fine.
I'm just a fan. I'm just an appreciative reader. Ezra, your piece on the death of Charlie Kirk was reckless, insulting, condescending, and worst of all, a piece of hagiography. For someone who claims to honor history and context in your work, it reads as if it was written by someone who respects neither of those things. What does it mean to practice politics in the right way? For whom does a taste for disagreement benefit? Certainly not the vulnerable populations, trans people, black women, and more who Kirk routinely targeted with hate speech and calls for violence. When I was a college intern at NBC News Washington in 2008, I would watch your MSNBC appearances on the monitor in our office. At that point, I could only dream of having a platform not like yours, which has grown exponentially since then. Now that I have a platform, albeit a much, much smaller one than yours, and I couldn't fathom using it to gaslight the country into believing a hateful man stood for a public good. Maybe it's time to consider how you're using yours, Marissa. There you go. Brilliant.
Yep, exactly.
Just applause.
Exactly.
Applause.
Yep.
Yeah.
No notes on that. Great job.
No notes at all.
Great job, Ms. Gavis. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, no, I mean, yeah, it's like, it's one of the things that like you said to me many years ago and that I've made like part of it. It's like one of the things that like spoke most deeply to me. I think you tossed it off and I said it to you. It's like, you know, you said like politics has contents as well as form. And it's like such a perfect encapsulation of like that. I believe that is like the core of like how I approach my work in this podcast and in this world to some degree. It's like, yeah, I mean, you can like stand above it all and be like, oh, we're all just the gods of Athens, just, you know, having, you know, debates about, you know, about things of public notice. But like, no, that's not what Charlie Kirk was demonizing, like people of color, women, trans people, leftists, you know, socialists, Democrats. I mean, that was his political part. That's what he did. He wasn't trying to persuade. He wasn't, you know, like, oh God, it's just, I mean, it's just,
he was actively working to take away the rights and freedoms and ultimately the lives of millions of people, you know, vulnerable people, oppressed people.
Absolutely.
And just half the population. Ultimately, this man was a male supremacist. He wanted women barefoot and pregnant and in the kitchen.
Yeah, well, you know, we're gonna play some clips to that effect shortly. But yes, indeed, yes.
Yeah, he dedicated his life to that. He made himself rich doing it, and he caused harm to this world that we will never be able to calculate. And he, you know, I don't fucking care if he did it from a sense of personal conviction and belief or not. I do not care. Like he did or he didn't, that's a distinction without a difference. He was just toxic waste. He was poison in this world. That's all he was.
Absolutely. I mean, no, it's you know, again, we're gonna get into it, but Charlie Kirk was an awful man who harmed. I mean, I guess I have one more question. We'll just kind of do them right now. How much did he actually advocate for violence, and how responsible is he for the current political climate which glorifies violence? He did not in the way that like again like the you know the not in the way that like the Boogaloo Boys would advocate for violence. Like it was never like that sort of thing. It was never like go out and kill your local Democrat. But he absolutely advocated for political violence up until I mean, he was literally doing it until when he was shot. He was doing it. He was advocating for political violence. He was advocating for cutting government programs that helped poor people. He was advocating for demonizing trans people. He was advocating for the uses of the state for the most powerful state that has ever existed in human history to be used against his enemies, which were almost entirely kind of people who might listen to this podcast, you know, like entirely.
He state violence. He advocated for it specifically and tacitly. He wanted televised corporate sponsored executions that children were forced to watch. For at least this is shit that he said to his mates in podcasts. You know, how much, again, it's a distinction without a difference. How much of this is serious policy proposal and how much of it is this, oh, aren't we shocking performance that he does for his audience? I don't care. These are things that he advocated for. So he's advocating for it, you know, specifically, literally. He's also advocating for it tacitly because he's advocating for things to happen in society that cannot happen without the state violently enforcing them.
Exactly. Like I mean, and that's again another thing that I think we need to be clear about on this podcast is the difference between, you know, advocating for, you know, look, I would not advocate for Charlie Kirk to have been shot, but there's a difference between actually shooting Charlie Kirk is violence. I agree. The things that Charlie Kirk did in his life were also violence, just of a different kind. There was systematic violence. He had an enormous platform for which he spewed hate and he spewed, you know, violence towards people he didn't like. And he did it for 14 years, something like that, since 2008, 2009. He was working on that political project. And so, you know, I'm not gonna Charlie Kirk, not for a moment, not for the slightest little moment. I have some sense for his kids. His kids are all very young. And losing their father is probably not going to be a fun thing for them. But
sure, that's all they know.
That's as far as I'm going on that. That's it.
Yeah.
Okay. So in our cold open, we heard Megyn Kelly live on air. That's towards the beginning of her broadcast yesterday. Between the time that Charlie Kirk had been shot and the time that the death was announced. And Megyn Kelly worked with Charlie Kirk regularly. They were frequent collaborators. Kirk went onto her show fairly regularly. I don't know if she went to his very often because he usually was doing his public events, but they spoke at public events together regularly. It was a thing. She had planned to be at one of his events during this American Comeback Tour thing. So these people worked closely together.
They deserved each other. It's the idea of like Charlie Kirk doesn't deserve this. You can argue nobody deserves a bullet through the neck or whatever, but the people were mean to Charlie Kirk online because all he was doing was advocating for what he believed in. Now we're going to go through. Well, first we're going to talk about I've titled this the legacy of Charlie Kirk or something like that. That's kind of my working title here. And I think firstly, we're going to play a couple of clips from that episode from different people coming in. Megyn Kelly wept on air. You listen to her. She was weeping on air openly during that. She was sniffling the whole time. Glenn Beck also wept on air. Can I ask you,
Sure,
you actually saw that?
Yes.
You actually saw that? Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's on YouTube. I played the audio, but I watched the YouTube version a couple of times.
Because I haven't watched the actual clip. Are they? Yeah, no. Do you think? I mean, is that real? Do you think they're real tears?
I think it's real.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Fair enough.
They worked close. I mean, they're monsters, but they're people. They have feelings. I mean, I can't imagine.
Some of them do.
Some of them. I don't think Megyn Kelly gives a shit about Palestinians, but I think she gives a shit about collaborator, not a close political operative. Yeah, I think she cares about that person.
Okay. Fair enough.
She would weep for that. I think there are times when she comes across as pretty fake on the show, but I think that's probably real. If it may be a little bit played up, but it's also, I think it's a legitimate thing. I mean, I think she's sad that he's dead. I think that's true. And I think, it does not seem unlikely to me that those were real tears, but who knows?
Well, she was probably making money from him, so.
Yeah, well, there's that too. Glenn Beck also openly wept during his segment.
Well, he does that all the time.
Yeah, that's a more regular thing. That man is a lachrymose motherfucker. Is what I'm going to call him. But no, we don't have any clips from that. I mostly stuck to the first 45 minutes of this, so we can So we're going to listen to two clips. One is Megyn Kelly talking to Rich Lowry. Rich Lowry is a kind of a more mainstream conservative figure. He is the editor-in-chief of the National Review. If that kind of gives you a sense.
Yeah, he's the one that started to say the N-word live on her show before that.
Yes.
That time.
I believe that's true. Yeah, and then the second one is Mark Halperin, who notably Me Too'd, used to work at MSNBC and now has his own show on the Megyn Kelly's growing media network. Megyn Kelly has a media network. We're going to get into that when we do the Megyn Kelly episode. Anyway, so this is going to be Rich Lowry kind of talking about kind of the impact of the world on what has happened to Charlie Kirk. And this again is before anybody knew he was dead. So what to start this? Okay.
This is going to make me sick, isn't it?
Yes, it will. We can stop it whenever you want, my friend. Don't worry.
Right? We need more of that, right? That's good for our society. That's what the bedrock of our republic, that's what it's built on.
So he's talking about debate, and the old Charlie Kirk ever did was just debate with people. We need more debate.
Argument, persuasion, clash of ideas. And a rifle should have nothing to do with it. Obviously nothing to do with it. And you asked, is this 1968 again? This might be an event horizon where we've passed, we've gone from the poisonous rhetoric into acts against people who are just advocates, right? Who are just out there expressing their point of view. And that's a really, really disturbing thing to think about.
There's a notably here. I mean, something I'm just going to jump in here. I did see a Blue Sky post that was, something to the effect. I don't have it in front of me, so I'm not going to quote it directly. But it's impossible to both talk about Charlie Kirk's high ideals and his excellent debate tactics and how much of a man of ideas he was, as Rich Lowry just was, and then actually quote things that Charlie Kirk actually said. Those are two things it is impossible to do simultaneously, because as we will see, Charlie Kirk was not a master of ideas. He was a master of bigotry.
Mark Halperin, the amount of security that Ben Shapiro has to travel with now, that Matt Walsh has to travel with now, that I know Charlie has had to travel with. I travel with security too. This is not normal. This is not normal. We're all news personalities.
I mean, first of all, like Brad Pitt also travels with security. I mean, you're famous people, you travel with security.
God, the level of sanctimonious, self-pitying, crybaby bullshit these people come up. It's worth pointing out that we have actual numbers on this. Political violence from the right dwarfs political violence from the left by orders of magnitude.
Absolutely.
The thing that's not normal, the terrible societal scandal of political violence, the persecution, the terror, the people being afraid to speak, etc., that's all on the other side. And it's because of you fucking people. You are the ones doing it with your endless avalanche of lies and bullshit and provocations and smears. How fucking dare you sit there and do that? This is not normal, Mark. It shouldn't have to be like this.
I couldn't have said it better myself. Could not have said it better myself. This is very common. And also, like, the figures is like Ben Shapiro, Matt Walsh, Charlie Kirk, people who are known to be these, like, lightning rods of controversy. Like, these people, you mean they have to travel with, some security because they advocate for destruction of people's lives, because they advocate for
because they advocate for genocide.
They advocate for genocide. Yes, absolutely. These people, like, they have to travel with, they need a security guard. Oh my goodness, like, I don't fucking care. Like, yes, like, I am not advocating that anyone go out and harm these people. That's arguably going to make it worse for everybody. But like, the idea that you just get to, like, be a bigot, be a very open bigot, be a very open, advocate for genocide in Israel and Gaza, being an open,
and against trans
person, and against trans folks.
Yeah, she named Matt Walsh there.
Yeah, Matt Walsh.
Matt Walsh has been on an endless tear. Transphobia. What's that other guy's name? That other filthy bastard that works at or used to work at Daily Caller. Can't remember his name. Little weasel-looking, porn-looking guy. He said he wanted transgenderism eradicated from public life, and then people said he called for a genocide because that is literally what that is not interpretable in any other way.
No, says, exactly.
I didn't say that. Yes, you fucking did.
You did absolutely. I don't know which fuckhead you're referring to, but I trust you on that. Yes,
I can't remember his name. They're all the same.
It's very similar. Yes. Okay. We got to get back into this, all right?
Yeah.
That's what we do. We comment on the news. The level of threats that now public figures are having to put up with in order to just talk about the news is irregular. It's wrong. There's
just talk about the news. Just talk about the news.
I'm just talking about the news. I'm just discussing, just very, very nicely, just talking about the events of the day. We're just talking about the news. No, you're advocating for genocide. No, I'm sorry, you are. And Megyn Kelly, very much, certainly, don't worry. We're going to do Megyn Kelly later. It's fine. But, like, she absolutely is of a piece with these guys. I think Matt Walsh is probably worse on trans issues. Anyway, Megyn Kelly is fascinating. When we talk about her, I've been reading her book, and the things she said in 2017 do not match up with the things she says in 2025. Let's just put it that way.
Deeply un-American about this.
Sorry,
go ahead.
The guy I was talking about before, the guy whose name I couldn't remember, Michael Knowles.
Oh, Michael Knowles. Yeah, no, he's that's a little shit weasel. Yes, absolutely.
He said at a speech he wanted transgenderism eradicated from public life, which is effectively a call. Of course, it's very carefully, like Elon's salute. It's calibrated to be quote unquote plausibly deniable.
Yeah,
but that's
exactly
what he's saying. Clearly.
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
And Michael Knowles has appeared on I know he's appeared on Megyn Kelly's show. I think he appeared with Charlie Kirk. I've only really been listening to Charlie Kirk regularly for a few months now, so I don't have a full, like, background history for Charlie Kirk, but
yeah,
I don't know if we can take the loss of Charlie Kirk.
Well, I hope you can.
I don't know.
Yeah, retire, Megyn. That sounds like a good plan. Yeah. Charlie Kirk is gone. Well, I guess y'all just better, like, pack up shop now. There's no reason to continue your political project. Yeah, that would be lovely.
We can take the loss of him. I really don't. I just think it's going.
Now here, you can hear in her voice. I think this is definitely, this is acting. I think she does feel bad about it, but I think there is obviously some performance here.
God, it's not happening. Pray God he survives this. But this is an abject disaster. I mean, this is going to have a far-reaching, deeply resonating effect on the political right, even as we know it as of this moment, what's happened here.
So what she's saying is, this is going to, like, the fact that he has been shot is going to make the right pull ranks and work together and really push against the left, really push against these communist Democrats effectively. That's kind of her point. And that's, I think, kind of what we're going to end up seeing. Horrifyingly enough. Yeah, that's all I have from Rich Lowry. The other is going to be from Mark Halperin. And this is going to be, you mentioned MLK. This is going to be that conversation. So, if anything,
I thought we'd get there.
Even worse, right? It always gets worse on this show.
Someone has tried to take away, let's put it that way. Someone has tried to take away someone who was really fighting every day to change America for his kids to have a better future as he saw America.
For his kids to have a better future. His kids.
like his 10-year-old daughter, who he said if she was raped and impregnated, he'd force her to carry the baby to term and deliver it. His kids. Yeah, like one of them.
That kid. Make their life better. Yeah, exactly. But not all the other kids. Not the kids in Gaza. Not the trans kids. Not the gay kids. Not the black. Not the children of immigrants. None of those kids. Just his kids. And advocated. He's going to say something like advocating as he saw it. Because even Mark Halperin does not agree with everything that Charlie Kirk has to say, presumably.
That's chilling to me. That's chilling to me.
That's
I think the
yes, yeah,
that's chilling to you.
Not these starving children in Gaza. Those are not.
left will chronicle his more hyperbolic and inflammatory statements.
Are we? Is that what we're going to do? I actually think we're going to be pretty fair to Charlie Kirk. I didn't nearly pull all the clips I could have. I didn't pull the worst of the worst.
How unfair of him, of us to, judge him merely by the things that he said in public.
Yes, the things, the hundreds or thousands, really thousands of hours he spent speaking in public, and to judge him for those words and to judge him for the output of those words. I agree. Like, if you took out of context, you took a little bit and you took like the worst thing he ever said and said he was exactly this bad all the time, that would be unfair. That's not what anybody's doing. People are everything that I've seen is people pulling like very representations of things he actually believed. There is no like stretching the truth on this. Like, there's no no one is saying he denied the Holocaust, for instance, because he didn't deny the Holocaust. As far as I know, he did not deny the Holocaust. Find me clips of him doing so, and I will absolutely damn him even further than I'm damning him now. No one is saying that. They're saying things he actually did say and believe. It's very, very normal.
And I think I think that is it comparable to the if he does die, to the death of Martin Luther King, the assassination of Martin Luther King? I think there's parallels there, because
I think there are parallels too.
Charlie was a visionary for his vision of America, and screw people who said he was in it for money or in it for fame or in it to own the libs. He was in it because he believed passionately about how to change this country to make life better for his kids.
Again, for his kids. And I didn't really have time to go and pull audio for all the things that that Kirk has said about MLK over the years. If this country goes down the road it's going down a few years, I think it is entirely possible that statues of Martin Luther King will be replaced with those of Charlie Kirk. I think that is a very real, tangible possibility. I do not want to put that in anybody's head who might be in a position to do so, but I think there is a very real possibility that, down the line, another few, they might try to do it tomorrow. Who knows? But I think, I think down the line, it is very possible that they consider Charlie Kirk to be a martyr to the cause of incipient American fascism, and that they do
King, who grew up in Jim Crow, who grew up effectively in American apartheid.
Yes,
who had to fight that savage system to lead a movement, a genuine civil rights movement.
Yes,
who
was beaten with clubs by police,
beaten and stabbed.
Yes.
Yeah.
But Charlie
leading protest marches.
but Charlie Kirk got his feces hurt because this lesbian didn't like what he had to say. She talked over him that one time. Ooh, boo, boo. Charlie Kirk, who dried his eyes with the millions that he made, that's spreading hate and bullshit. Exactly, just like MLK. Yes, there's a parallel there. Megyn Kelly, she won't say it out loud. There's a parallel. Oh my God, Megyn. What fucking...
It is so contemptible the way white conservatives are desperate to try to cast themselves as the oppressed.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
It is beneath contempt, the way they do that. And Charlie Kirk himself explicitly slandered Dr. King.
Oh yeah,
as well.
Absolutely.
Called his reputation a myth and a legend.
I really should have.
And...
Maybe while you're editing this, I'll pull up a clip and we can throw something in there. But I just didn't have. I was doing other stuff and I just didn't have time to go into that. But yeah, no, again, not the absolute worst racism towards MLK that I've seen. I mean, but I've seen the absolute worst imaginable. But he was awful on that issue. Of course, he was absolutely disgusting on that issue. And I think it's a very real possibility, especially, term, somehow gets a third term, gets a fourth term. Very possible. Or Trump dies and they put up a statue of Trump with Charlie Kirk, because Charlie Kirk worked closely with Donald Trump. They were like, he basically ran the get out the vote efforts for the 2024 election. Like, he works intimately with members of the Trump administration. Like, he's in like group chats with Don Jr. and JD Vance. Like, that's how closely he was working with these guys.
He organized funding for buses to take people to January 6th.
Yes, he did. Absolutely. Charlie
he was
Kirk
actively involved in organizing a fascist putsch attempt to overthrow American democracy.
I mean, there is absolutely, he absolutely did. And there really is this thing of like, Charlie Kirk got as far as he did in life by like sticking his lips right on Donald Trump's asshole and asking, how hard do I need to pucker, sir? Like, that's exactly what he did. That's Jack Posobiec to a lesser degree, but Charlie Kirk was like the defining example of that, of just whatever Donald Trump says is what I believe. That's, just a hatchet man for Donald Trump, except the dipshit weasel kind, not like the Haldeman kind, you know what I mean?
Release the Epstein phone rings.
Yes.
Turns back to camera. Don't release the Epstein files. We don't need to. It's fine.
Exactly. Yeah, no.
Paid to believe things. There is no greater insult.
Yeah. Did we play a clip of him during that episode? We might have been 4 episodes that we played him on. Anyway. All right. So we're done with Megyn Kelly. We don't have to listen to any more Megyn Kelly today. I mean, I do, but
for now,
I'll listen to more. As soon as we're done recording, I'm going to go right back to listen to Megyn Kelly probably, but you don't have to do it for now. Instead, so what I did, I was about 6 days behind on Charlie Kirk's output yesterday when he died. And I said, okay, I'm going to sit and I'm going to listen to all those, 6 days worth of episodes. It's roughly like 4 hours, like 3.5, 4 hours worth of content. And so today I'm going to find little bits and we're just going to clip from the last week of shows. And I was planning to do that completely until I got to the last show and I realized clip from this one. So this is none of this, like, this was the very last episode Charlie Kirk will ever produce. And we're going to actually play the very end of that episode. So you get to hear exactly the way this is about the legacy of Charlie Kirk, the way he left it, the way the thing that he left, this project, one of the many projects one of the things that he did was this podcast. And this is going to show you the very last thing he did for that project. I'm going to play for you here in about 15 minutes. So,
and this proves what you were just saying, which is that, you can just dip in anywhere.
Yeah,
basically.
Yeah, you don't. Megyn Kelly's kind of the same way. I kind of feel disgusting that I've like spent so much time on her when you really don't have to. But I think it's my project is to do the deepest dives possible on these things, and so there's nobody can say I haven't done the homework on this. Okay, so this is from Charlie Kirk's last episode. He is interviewing because he has like little segments in these shows, and they're like stitched together with ads. I thought about playing some of the ads; they're hilarious, but. We don't need to do. If we do more Charlie Kirk material, I'll play some of the ads. I might do that for Megyn Kelly too. Actually, there's probably an episode in just right wing ads. That would be funny. That would be an easy one. That would be a funny one. Okay, so this is Charlie Kirk. He is interviewing Tricia McLaughlin. Tricia McLaughlin. I have her. She actually works for DHS. I have her DHS.gov page linked in the show notes. And she is Assistant Secretary for Public Affairs. So essentially, she's kind of like a PR person for DHS. She does interviews for these kinds of things. And so in this moment, what they're talking about is the whether Trump is going to be able to put federal troops in Chicago and perform and do these kind of, police state actions that he was able to do in Washington, D.C. That's a story we probably could have covered. I think it's been covered pretty well already. D.C. has special status because it is not part of a state. It has like a home rule. And so the federal government does have the ability to actually police in D.C., which it does not have in any other city or other place in the country, because those are supposed to be handled at the state level. This is like a very clear legal distinction that goes back, to the time of the American founding. It is, we can argue it's nonsense, but it's the law. It's the thing. Charlie Kirk, if Barack Obama or Joe Biden were still president, would absolutely not think that federal troops should be able to enforce federal laws or state laws in non-division of states. But because it's Donald Trump is in charge, he's all for it. And he brings
I've just been listening to the Knowledge Fight episodes about Alex Jones reacting to exactly this. And as they point out, Alex Jones, his entire career has been based upon this fear-mongering about the America's becoming a police state. The federal government is going to take over. It's an end of states' rights. They're going to send troops in, etc., etc. His entire career up to this point. And of course, now Trump is actually doing it. Trump is actually federalized Washington, D.C., sent the National Guard into cities to try to take over. Trump is actually, because of course, the right, everything they talk about is what they, the left are doing this, the globalists are doing that. It's what they secretly fantasize about doing. Trump is actually doing it. Alex Jones is defending it. And it's all in terms of crime, which of course, when Alex Jones talks, it just means black people existing.
Yeah, no, one thing I did not do that I probably should have done is there's a ton there's maybe 3 or 4 minutes of this episode that I'm going to play for you. I had to clip around. There's a lot of just absolutely savaging black on black crime. There's a little bit of that. We're going to get to a little bit of that, but that's kind of the last thing that we're going to play is some of that. But he names people and it's this person, this filth, this criminal. And he goes into this totally,
as we say, he died doing that.
Yeah, he died doing that. But he was doing it. And the real reason I didn't want to do it is I didn't want to have to look up all the cases and then describe them and kind of explain why he's bullshitting or why maybe he's not bullshitting. It really doesn't matter. It's all just sludge of hate for Charlie Kirk, or it was all sludge for hate. It was all, just ranting in order to create political violence against brown and black people, against people of color and trans people in this country and around the world, arguably, but certainly in this country. So anyway, I just clipped a minute or so out of this, and it just kind of gives you a sense of again, how closely connected Kirk is to the Trump administration. That he's got these people on. This is a PR person, but he has high-level people, Trump cabinet people, come on to Charlie Kirk's show for a 15-minute segment, and they do it constantly. This is a regular thing. Almost on a moment's notice. He is very deeply ingratiated in the Trump White House, or was very deeply ingratiated in the Trump White House.
Regime mouthpiece. That's what we're talking about.
Exactly. Arguably, all of these people are just regime mouthpieces at this point. That's something that the more you get into, the normie side of this, the Jack Posobiec's, the Matt Walsh's, the Megyn Kelly's, they just recite, with very few exceptions, with very few, minor tweaks. They basically always just tout administration talking points at this point. That's all they are. And then sometimes, except when they think he doesn't go far enough, that would be the other side of it.
Right. So I guess, could you guys do something as simple as just waiting outside of the jail, that as soon as they get released, then you can intercept them because then they're no longer in the jurisdiction of the city? This is so outrageous. Why are we putting up with this?
So this is deporting people who have been arrested for other crimes. And basically the local governments do not want, the government, the city of Chicago does not want ICE agents kind of coming in and taking people from their criminal justice system because they're still a part of their criminal justice system. And so this is a fight because basically ICE is we know where these people are. They've already committed a crime. Let's just pump them out and deport them. And it's no, there are rules around this. We're not allowed to do that. These people have human rights. Human rights, what? Exactly. So that's the discussion that these two people are having.
Neo-Confederism. It's time for us to start.
It's neo-Confederism for Chicago to want to, or the state of Illinois to want to enforce the laws of the state of Illinois. It's neo-Confederism. This is just like slavery. We can't crush brown people fast enough.
Arresting these mayors and these city council members. Are we really in a place where Chicago can be like, oh, sorry, feds, you're not allowed to deport?
Here he's literally calling for arresting elected officials in the city of Chicago who are going to stand in the way of Donald Trump putting federal troops on the ground in Chicago. That's in exactly that many words. That's what he just advocated for. That's the thing he just advocated for. Right there. That's it. That's the thing. And this is not a one-off example. He does this. He did this. I keep using present tense. He did this all the fucking time. This is. I did not have the clip for this. This is basically. I just found the clip and I'm like, we're just going to use it. Like, this is very ordinary.
Or child rapist? Is that where we're at?
No, I think that's absolutely not a place where we're at, and we're working with the Department of Justice and really making sure we keep all of these options on the table. I mean, we've introduced new functions, including being outside of courthouses, so that those people who have had their day in court, as soon as they are deemed.
She's the administration official, and she's talking about putting people not at the outside of the county jails, but at the outside of the courthouses. There's a reason you do not arrest people for threatening them with deportation when they have their day in court. Reason is because you want people to actually show up for their day in court. This is very normie, good government stuff. This is not radical left stuff. You want people to show up for their day in court because otherwise they flee. Otherwise they commit more crimes. There's no reason for anyone not to commit terrible crimes in order to get away if they know that they can't even go to their court date. They're not going to go to the court date. You want them to go to you want them to pay their fines. You want them to pay their debt to society for whatever that means. I understand the justice system. We are not fans of the justice system in this podcast. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying in normal, good government, boring, so that's what you want to happen. You want people to go through the justice system and for justice to be served. You do not want people not to show up because there's a masked guy with a giant rifle who's going to blow your head off if you don't come with him and ported back to El Salvador or down to Uganda or down to wherever the fuck they're sending these people. It's just, this is a government official. This is a member of government. This is someone, federal government, who either does not understand or does not care about this distinction. This is, it's mind-boggling. It is mind-boggling to me.
Advocating an effective de facto end to the right to due legal process for these
Exactly. Yeah. And it's not just for these people. Once they can do it, they can do it to anybody. It's not this. Once you're not, and it would be bad enough if it was just these people. Okay, let's say Charlie Kirk has gone the child rapists and the murderers and all this. Okay, let's assume every single person that this has happened to is a truly vile human being that has actually committed all these horrible, horrible crimes. Let's assume that for the sake of discussion, they still have human rights. There's still a justice system. There's still something like the rule of law and that's. The whole point of the rule of law is that we're not savages who just kill people who've done something wrong. We put them through a trial process. There are rules for the way we do this. Now, is that just? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. The way that we do it is absolutely not just. I am not arguing for the de facto, U.S. criminal justice system. I am saying that's the reason we have this criminal justice system to begin with. And if we're not going to actually engage in that process, if we're just going to say certain people, if we think they've done something wrong, they don't get a say anymore. That is by definition not the rule of law. That is by definition, and then suddenly we are all subject to it. Hypothetically.
The point is not whether or not these people have done something wrong or not. The point is that government is arrogating the prerogative to say the decision about whether you've done something or not, or just de facto whether or not you get to have your rights taken away by the state is no longer exists in any public realm. It no longer exists in any realm where law or precedent or public pressure or public view can touch it. It is ours to decide. We say if you go to prison or not. We say if you're a bad person or not. That's what's wrong with it.
And then when Barack Obama comes in for his third term, because after Trump gets his third and fourth, and Obama's going to come back, and of course they're going to claw that back. No, we don't get to do that anymore. No. Yeah, of course.
No, it's tyranny when Barack Obama tries to do it.
Barack Obama wears a tan suit, We had a mask mandate. We closed schools for 2 months, and that's tyranny. That's tyranny. Of course,
it's almost as if the entire basis of these people's politics is that the protections of law and rights and legality and all that sort of stuff belong and apply only to people like Charlie Kirk.
Yes, exactly.
But they don't apply
Wow.
to people who are, for instance, migrants across the southern border,
Exactly.
because government says that they don't. It's almost as if that's the whole point.
It's almost as if that's the whole point. It's almost as if like they're advocating for a kind of dictatorship and a type of fascism. Almost.
Yeah,
It's
with a
almost.
built-in government-run racial hierarchy.
Yeah. No, geez, can't. Anyway, let's not be sardonic on that level anymore. Let's continue the clip.
To be in this country legally, we will take them, we will arrest them, and we will deport them. But Charlie, remember, these arrests don't even need to be on the table, because what could be happening is those who are in this country legally could leave now. They can get $1,000 and a free ticket home. It's a very generous offer of the U.S. taxpayer, and then they avoid being arrested and deported. But if they don't leave now, we will arrest them and we will deport them, and they'll never be able to come back to the United States of America.
You gotta love that carrot and stick approach, right? You gotta love that. Like, well, we don't have to be deported. We can just send you away. We'll give you $1,000. How generous of us! A whole $1,000 to uproot your life. You've lived here 30 years. Maybe you never even knew. Maybe you were a child when you left Mexico or Costa Rica or Colombia. Maybe those drug gangs, maybe they just don't exist. $1,000, to uproot your life and move to a place you've never seen for a whole lot of them, not for all of them, but for a whole lot of people. That's exactly the history. Why not?
Yeah.
We're so generous. Look at us. This stuff it's so normalized now, and it just disgusts me every single time. This is political violence. This is state violence against migrants, against legal aliens, whatever.
This goes, Charlie Kirk specifically, is one thing, but in principle, this goes right the way back to stuff we were talking about at the very start of this podcast, which was the whole bullshit you would get from stuff like people like Richard Spencer about peaceful ethnic cleansing. There's no such thing.
Yes.
It's inherently violent. It is inherently violent.
Well, things are just getting unpleasant, and then people will just move. Things like, it'll just, it's just people will be more comfortable. It's like, yeah, you're talking about like vigilante violence. You're talking about, the methods by which this happens in reality, these are not peaceful. This is not peaceful. This is violence. It's just, my little white hands don't have to get dirty because I'm the guy with the, with the teacup and surveying the field because like I see myself as a Victorian gentleman, I guess. But
that's always been the appeal of Trump and MAGA to his base, that people like that Charlie spent their careers putting out there, which was the idea that the guy, the savior, Trump, is going to come along and he's going to do that for you. He's going to do the ethnic cleansing for you.
Yes,
it's going to be nice. You won't have to see, to the extent that anybody is sort of turning away, who did support Trump and is now turning away, to the extent that that's happening, it's happening because they're seeing sort of messy stuff on the streets that, I don't like the look of that. That doesn't make me look good. The fact that I'm associated with that doesn't make me look good. I didn't want to see that. The whole idea was that these people that I don't like, they were just going to disappear. That was the plan. That was what I wanted.
Yeah, no, they just go away cleanly and nicely. I don't have to look at the nasty things.
Yeah.
It's very much, it's very much like, you show somebody the inside of a butcher shop and suddenly they don't want to eat meat quite as often as they used to. This is the same. Yeah. It's the same phenomenon. I'm not a vegetarian. I know you're a vegetarian. I'm not a vegetarian. I very much like to become one, but you get the metaphor I'm going for there. Once you see how the sausage is made, it becomes something it's hard to look away from, and that's what people were seeing is like, and like the people, the people who didn't have to see it, the people who had read books, and the people who knew exactly what this meant, the people who knew the history and who saw the direction this was going, leftists, well, those people, you couldn't listen to those people back then, when we were absolutely right about what was going to happen. It's like, oh, well, nobody knew. Nobody could have possibly known. Yeah, some of us knew. Sorry, we knew. We're very happy you don't want to be a fascist anymore, but like, let's sit in the corner for a while. It's okay. Let's let the adults have a conversation. Yes.
When the left are trying to tell you these things, or even just the liberal left to try to tell you these things, the entire media and ideological establishment lines up to tell you almost in unison that there's some reason why you shouldn't listen, or it's understandable that you don't listen, because the left are, their tone wrong, or their attitude's wrong, or they're saying it wrong, or they're too censorious or something. And yet somehow these standards of behavior, they're never applied to people like Charlie Kirk, who he's just, now that he's dead, he's just been completely repackaged by these people. Millions of Americans are learning about this guy, Charlie Kirk, for the first time now, and they're being given a completely fake image of him as kind of this reasonable political actor who was engaging in debate. But it's a complete fiction. As we said at the outset, this man was a fascist propagandist, but the rules are
Absolutely.
different for people like him.
Yeah. All right. Let's get into some Nazi shit. You want to get into some Nazi shit? I mean, we're already kind of doing some Nazi shit, but
Yes, yeah. I'm gonna say, are we not already in that?
we are. Well, we're gonna. So Jack Posobiec, Jack Posobiec, right?
It always gets. That's the unofficial motto of this podcast, of course, is it always gets worse.
I mean, you do have to keep in mind that I do the schedule. I do the plotting of the clips and where we go, and so there might be a reason that it always gets worse. I like to, you start off in the kiddie pool, and then it just gets deeper and deeper until you're finally you're drowning. That's how the structure of the podcast works. Yeah. Yes, and piss and shit and vomit. Yes, and yes. God, let's not go any further with that metaphor. Anyway, so Jack Posobiec. Jack Posobiec. Posobiec and a couple of his buddies, including Charlie Kirk, Posobiec will still do it, but used to do a podcast called Thought Crime. There's an episode on Thought Crime. There's probably a Posobiec episode. There's an episode on Thought Crime. It's like, I first started listening to Charlie Kirk because I was listening to Thought Crime, and then I wanted to listen to the stuff he was saying when he wasn't on Thought Crime, because Thought Crime is about as aggressive as Charlie Kirk ever got on like racial issues and all this stuff. He starts to sound a lot more traditionally alt-right,
Thought crime. A term that comes from the novel 1984,
Yes.
written by George Orwell, who went to Spain to shoot fascists.
Yes, indeed. They're like, we're committing thought crimes because we're saying the things about race that are actually true that nobody else is allowed to say anymore. It's like, oh my God, you guys. Yes. The legacy of Orwell, Orwell's names, that word should be like ashes in their mouths. They should never be allowed to say it aloud. Anyway, so
yeah,
on this last episode,
we said anyway in unison there. That was great.
Yes.
Sorry, go on.
It's a verbal tick. I have it, and I think you're picking it up for me. So on this last episode that Charlie Kirk will ever make of this stupid podcast that I never have to listen to again, Sobiek started talking. He came on and they talked through some news stories. It's a regular thing that they do. And here there's a thing. I don't know. I had not heard of this until I listened to this episode. You probably haven't heard of it. The Phillies Karen incident. Have you heard of this at all?
No.
Okay.
No, I have not.
So it's at a Phillies game. I think it's in Miami. Anyway, the details are stupid. Anyway, it's a baseball game. In a baseball game, so I do not follow sports. I'm not, so please, And I assume that like at least some of our audience is not American, so I'll briefly explain how this works. You throw the ball, you hit it with a bat. If it goes past it, it's a home run, right? And sometimes it lands in the stands. And there's a kind of thing like if you're sitting in the stands, one of the things as a fan is like if you get to catch the ball, you get to keep the ball. It's like a souvenir. It's a cool thing you get to do. Okay, at this game apparently, and this went like mega viral in places that I don't look, so whatever. There's a woman who gets called the Phillies Karen because she's wearing Phillies garb, I guess. So a man with a young son sees the ball, he skitters over to grab it, he grabs it and then brings it over to his son. And then this woman, the Phillies Karen, because the ball was hit closer to her, she goes over, they have like a kind of verbal fracas, and then the man takes the ball and then gives it to the woman. And because she's like kind of got that traditional severe haircut, she's in her 40s, I guess. She's just hated all over the internet in this like little corner of the internet. Anyway, I've spent far too long discussing this. This is very stupid, but this is what they're talking about. They spend like, so on this story, we spent 3. I still feel like we spent too much time on this. This is a nothing incident. It's a viral moment. It's nothing. There's no reason to be discussing this. I'm discussing it because of what Charlie Kirk and Jack Posobiec are going to say
because they discussed it. Yeah,
because they discussed it, and because they're going to talk about the dynamics at play in this interaction, right? So basically, ball is hit. It's closer to the woman. The man goes over. He runs over. He picks it up. He gives it to his son. The woman comes over. There's a fight. He takes the ball. The man takes the ball from his son and gives it to the woman. She walks away, and I think she flips off some of the people filming it and stuff. So I mean, anyway, it's a very like baseball fan kind of interaction. It's so like, this is so like sports media. It hurts. But anyway, okay. So we're just this is just a little. So you don't need to know exactly what they're saying here. But let's talk about the way they describe this man.
And that's something that I've been trying to correct the record on because of the misinformation that's going out there. The woman didn't take the ball at all. It's the father who takes the ball from his own son's glove and hands it over to the woman. And Charlie, my contention has been that's the decline of the West.
Well,
right
I will say that yes, this father obviously has
for
emotional.
Fuck's sake. Oh God!
I told you it gets worse. I told you. Your thoughts,
That's
Jack?
the decline of the West.
The decline of the West is that a man, and they went through this. God, I could have made a whole episode about this exchange because they go on and on about the man. He takes this ball. This is supposed to be this homespun American story of a man giving the baseball to his son in this heartwarming moment between the man and the son. And instead, he takes it. He robs this childhood memory, this treasured childhood memory from his son, from his begotten son, and gives it to this terrible, awful, shrill woman because he wasn't strong enough, he wasn't man enough to tell her to go fuck herself. Like, is the not even the implication. That's literally what they say. But yeah,
I don't have much respect for the intellectual legacy of Oswald Spengler, but I don't think that's what that book was about. I don't think it was about an argument over who gets a baseball.
My God, when we do the Jack Posobiec episode, I'm going to get to tell you about Pizza Hut nationalism. Pizza Hut nationalism.
The presence of pizza in any of these discussions is not a good sign.
I'll give you the Pizza Hut. Used to have back in the 80s when he and I were children. He's a little bit younger than me. But, had very distinctive restaurant, like the architecture of the restaurants was very distinct. And then as they went to like more standard, like modern styles. And then and they changed like there was a way that like the cups. He had this long Twitter thread one day about like back in my day, like nostalgia, like fascist nostalgia for like Pizza Hut. And like this was a world before there were all these immigrants, for all these the people of color who were coming in and ruined these true pieces of American culture. Like that's what Pizza Hut nationalism is. It is
back when my emotional age and my physical age were in accord with each other.
Yes, I can't wait for like in 20 years they're talking about like the Kim Possible nationalism. Back in the days, back when Avatar: The Last Airbender was the best thing on TV. Oh my God, I actually like Avatar: The Last Airbender. But you know what I'm saying. Okay. I haven't seen it all. I like bits of it a lot. What I've seen, I liked a lot. It's fine. I'm not an anime fan. It's fine.
You're getting off track, Daniel.
Yes, I am. But you might want to cut all that. It's fine. But I was like, if I'm going to mention it, I got to explain it a little bit. All right. So we're going to get back to this. I'm trying to avoid playing the rest of this clip. It really is disdain.
Stability problems. You could tell that he's got something off about him.
You can see it.
No one acts like this, so I think you could tell there's something wrong with him. And it's not even a matter of de-escalation, just the way he did his hands. He's got.
Well, Charlie, I did do a little research, and I found out that this father, it turns out he's from New Jersey. So,
well, sure, that explains half of it, but not the whole picture. But there's the little shimmy shake. He's got maybe a little Aspergery type thing. And I'm not accusing him. You just kind of tell there's something that's not quite right.
This is just not a normal reaction.
No, it's not a normal reaction. So maybe he was completely overwhelmed and intimidated by the situation.
You can just tell from looking at him. You can just tell by the way he does a little shimmy shake. He does I watched this video. I don't know. I didn't pay any attention to it. He seemed like a perfectly normal person to me. Then again, maybe that's because I'm, the 6-letter F word, and I'm, and I'm a socialist, and I'm a cuck. I'm not a real alpha male like Charlie Kirk and Jack Posobiec are, and so like I just think that looks normal. But it's like
you don't have the penetration to be able to see, that the guy is there's something wrong with him. He's Asperger's also. Yes.
And
They really are like asshole teenage boys at the back of the bus. These people, they really are.
Oh, a clip I didn't get to include because it wasn't from this episode. They did a rerun of one of the old thought crimes, and they're literally talking about, you watch the Lord of the Rings movies, they seem kind of gay now. And they're like talking about which media properties seem gay in 2025. And they're really using like they sound like 13-year-olds. They spend like an hour on this. It was remarkable. It was remarkable. Anyway, the reason I picked that clip is because like we just see it the way, and there's something wrong with them. This is like eugenics talk. That's what this is. It is.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Like it's like phrenology. There's something wrong with his face. There's something wrong with the way he uses his hands. There's something, you can tell he's not a real man because it's very, very it's very coded through this like eugenics lens. And it's just like they're not being explicit about it. It's just in their day-to-day conversation, like the way that they think about the world, eugenics is built into it. This like genetic determinism is built into every interaction that they see in the world. It's just part of the framework of the way that they talk.
It's the air they breathe. Yeah. Along with that sort of prizing of toxic ideas of masculinity and sort of inherent homophobia and all this, as if these doughy, pillow soft fucking white boys that have never known a day's hardship or done actual physical labor or anything like that in their fucking lives, as if they have anything to talk about here.
Exactly. Yeah, no. Yeah, we're the alpha men, and that guy, we can tell there's just something Asperger's-y about him because he didn't, he gave the ball back to the woman. I mean, it's such bullshit.
He de-escalated a conflict in public, in front of his son.
Yes, yes.
What could be more weak and, gay than that?
And what would be, honestly, look, I'm not going to read too much into this. We're not doing but you could argue this is actually de-escalating, even if he was in the right to have the ball. You could argue, this is not a debate I'm having. You can choose the right. Showing your child that the skills of de-escalation is also a valuable parenting skill. It's also a valuable thing to teach your child. This could be a good parenting moment. I don't know. I don't know the history. I don't know this background. I don't know these people, but that's certainly a interpretation you could have of this moment. He was teaching his child how to I know we that was our ball, but it's trouble with, et cetera, et cetera. That is a perfectly legitimate attitude to have towards this. I don't know. It's just this whole thing.
Well, this is I suppose, TV footage. From the baseball game.
I think it's partly TV footage and partly there's a bunch of people filmed the incident as it was happening.
Can you hear what's being said? Can you hear the argument?
I didn't look into it. I watched a couple of the videos. I couldn't really hear anything. No, it's just
okay. So you don't know. You don't know what's happening.
No,
shut the fuck up.
Yes, indeed. All right, we have a little bit more to say about this incident, and this is just a clip. It's from 2 minutes later, or a few minutes later, where they're still on this topic. And we've talked about eugenics, we've talked about racism, we've talked about genocide support. Now talk about sexism.
Does she not hold all the cards of power? Because in that situation, women nothing will obviously go to physical blows, nor should it. But in that situation, she's actually in the power position there. A screaming woman at a baseball game has more power than the man does.
Well, in our current inverted society, certainly, because we have this inverted victimhood hierarchy. So a white man.
Hey, this is supposed to be a patriarchy. No, it's a matriarchy. This is very Also, there's some audio thing that's going on in Posobiec. That's not my mistake. That's Posobiec sentence. So it just lets you know if that little buzz sound, it annoys me too. But if it's annoying you, put it on Jack Posobiec. The worst thing he's ever done is have that little.
There's several sort of annoying buzzing sounds, but I think it's just these guys talking.
Yes, indeed. It's we live in a genocracy. This is straight Roosh V, anti-feminism shit. This is straight out of 2014.
Yeah. These days he can't just punch her in the face to shut her up. So obviously the world's upside down and inside out.
Yeah, it's he's even Kirk even says the line. It's something like it's not going to come to physical blows, nor should it. Obviously, it's we kind of know where you think this should really go. She should know her place because you can beat the shit out of her. That's really what you want to say. Yeah, it's very clear.
Yeah. Well, she should be. He shouldn't have to. She should know her place. She should be too afraid of that to even try this in the first place.
Yep.
Yeah.
Again, with the carrots and sticks. It's carrots and sticks all the way down.
Man is, doesn't have as much power as the HR director, Karen. And so, of course,
the HR director is going to call you to the carpet because you tweeted something that was not sufficiently gynocratic, and therefore you're going to lose your job. This is the terror that these men live under. Yes.
You're all alpha males. You're all big, tough, masculine alpha males. You shouldn't care about any. It's wonderful the way they constantly reveal themselves, because they're just sitting around bitching and moaning and whining about somebody held me responsible for something I said. Somebody criticized me. Well, you're the big fucking alpha male. You said, fuck you and move on. What do you care? You should just shake it off. But apparently, no. Apparently, this is something you need to all sit around in a coven of whiny little guys whinging about for hours on end.
Exactly. Oh my God. This is so like, there's nothing is more alpha than sitting and whining about a woman that you will never meet for 20 minutes. There's nothing says like, I definitely had sex today than that,
Whose ability to criticize you apparently cuts your dick off.
Yes, it's exactly. Oh. Sorry, did not mean to imply anything about asexuals or people who choose not to have sex for any reason, but what this
that's how
stereotype is. Yeah.
I'm working within their view of the world.
We have to speak in terms of their thoughts, but I don't know. People do. I get emails sometimes. I try to cut that off, but I don't think.
It's fair enough. It's fair enough. Yeah. Totally.
All right. We're gonna continue. I mean, God, it's so like they're just whiny little babies. This is all this is. Yeah, this whiny nothing. All right.
This is now, unfortunately, though, because this is all on video. The guy didn't do anything wrong. The guy didn't do anything wrong at all. The only thing that he did wrong in the entire video that I've seen is hand the ball over to her. He didn't strike her. He didn't assault her. In fact, she actually grabs him at one point. You can see her grabbing his arm and kind of pulling him a little bit, which.
The only thing I think of in this moment is back and to the left. Back and to the left.
Yes.
They're analyzing this like this is a Zapruder film.
There's Zapruder footaging some film of some people in the crowd at baseball game.
Yes, exactly. You can see there must have been a second ball. You can see it in frame 343. Over the pettiest bullshit imaginable. Like these are professional political. This is a political podcast. This is a show. I mean, no man would be cowed by just one woman, but if there was a second Karen coming in from the book depository, she came from the outfield. She was there the whole time. She made herself look like a man. It's a trans Karen, the worst guy.
Yeah.
Trans Karen in the outfield. I want that to be. That's an album title or it's a movie. I want that now.
Of course, it's a baseball game. Like, come on, or you're really gonna call that physical assault. But if you wanted to go to that level, she has no legal claim here whatsoever, and in fact, the law would be completely on his side.
It's a baseball. It's a baseball. What are you talking about? Legal claim.
They're just bullshitting. It's nonsense.
Why do people listen to this? Why do people listen to hours and hours and hours of this absolute fucking drivel? I don't understand. Daniel, I don't understand. Help.
People this is like culture war nonsense because this went mega viral. And so it's like this thing where they're like covering it as like a a lighthearted news story in between all the crime coverage they're doing, and they cover this stuff.
Yeah.
It's part of the whole like package ultimately.
Sure.
But like it's just so nonsense. It's just so like, and I have spent many hours of my life listening to this kind of inane bullshit like all the time. Usually if it gets into where we're going to spend 30 minutes on this, I just delete the episode and move on. It really is. All right. I've gotten what I need to out of this. I'm done. I don't need this anymore. But they all do it because they're all filling hours a day of content. Charlie Kirk was putting out like roughly an hour a day, 5 days a week, years. And this is how you do it. You just, if we had to fill an hour a day, 5 days a week, we would do this kind of nonsense too. Thank God we're not professionals and we don't have to. I think even if we could do this and make this a full-time job, I think that would be, more soul crushing than unemployment at that point.
I think that would be hell on earth, to be honest.
Yes.
I need time to read books.
I need time to do anything but this. Anyway. All right.
Yeah, literally anything else. Yeah.
Literally anything. I need time to pluck my eyelids out, with tweezers. Yeah. Okay, let's continue.
The only thing that she has on her side is the woke system of social justice that we have erected sort of around our entire society. The longhouse, as our mutual friend Jonathan Kieferman would call it.
We're not going to get into the longhouse today, but we could. We get a longhouse episode, but again, this is the world in which these people live. This is the world. This is the mindset. This is who Charlie Kirk was and Jack Posobiec is. Again, I am not selectively quoting this. This is from the last episode that he ever produced, and so it's like a random episode. This is just the way they talk to each other regularly. This is a completely ordinary discussion that these two men are having for them.
There's nothing. Is effectively just a random sample. You
Yes.
just went to the last episode, basically, which is effectively random because of what happened. Yeah.
Exactly.
Proves
Exactly.
the point.
Again, it's not like, and this shows you. All right, we're gonna play the last clip now. We got to get here. We've been doing this for 90 minutes.
Got to
It's
get to
time.
the end of this. Yeah.
Got to get to the end. And this is, I don't know, Jack probably can't see the title of this, but I titled this clip in my little montage. This is Charlie Kirk last show 13 do 50. You remember the 13 do 50 meme, don't you? That 13% of the population does 50% of the crime.
Oh, yeah. I know what you mean. Yeah.
And guess what that 13% are? They're the African-American population is 13%, roughly.
Yeah.
Although sometimes they modify it to 6.5% because it's like, oh, it's all black men. It's not even the black women. It's all black men. So this is a racist thing. Again, from the earliest days of the alt-right, from even before the alt-right, but this was like very strict alt-right meme from the beginning of like the time that they were doing this stuff. And here it is. Charlie Kirk is going to express it in 100% of all of its vintage 2014 glory. This could have been said on the streets of Charlottesville at Unite the Right on August 12th, 2017. That's how direct this is. This is the very last segment of the very last show Charlie Kirk ever produced. This is the last minute and 17 seconds, and we're just going to play it.
You go through the numbers, they're pretty shocking. You go through the numbers and you go into the detail, you kind of walk away and you say, boy, the media's really not been telling me the truth here. Of course not. In Minnesota, blacks are 6.4% of the population, and yet blacks account for 62% of all the violent crime in Minnesota. According to 2021 FBI data, 1 in 22 males, black males, will murder someone at some point in their lifetime. And that's, by the way, that's with most of black crime going unsolved. It's probably even higher than that because half of all black murders go unsolved. Half. The projected lifetime murder rate for a black male is 4,508 per 100,000. By age 23, about half of all black males have been arrested. Let me say that again. By age of 23.
So I'm playing it kind of straight. I did not check into all this data. I don't know if this is all accurate or not. Again, it doesn't really matter. These statistics, they're always plucked out of context. It's always nonsense. I'm just going to say that out loud, but it's worth listening to. This is how Charlie Kirk ended his life. This is the thing he was talking about a day before his life ended. This is his legacy. This is his life work. This is his life's work.
Half of all black males have been arrested, and not enough of them have been arrested. 385,000, nearly 400,000, 3 times as many blacks are.
Also, I love blacks. That's a
blacks. Yeah.
It's you got to be pretty deep in your racism before you start using it. Not black people, not African American people, not people of color, not blacks, just blacks. I mean, there is another word that he's probably actually thinking of, but that's pretty deep. That's pretty deep in your. That's pretty much considering people as termites. It's close.
Yeah.
Commit crimes against white, despite being only 13% of the population. We need the fearlessness to say criminals are evil, crime will not be tolerated, crime will be stamped out regardless of who commits it. And until then, these stories will keep on happening. Thanks so much for listening, everybody. Email us, as always, freedom@charliekirk.com. Thanks so much for listening, and God bless.
And that's it. And
so
of course,
he ended his podcasting career lying, promoting racist stereotypes in order to further explicitly the agenda of an incipiently totalitarian fascist regime that is in the process of using racist dog whistles in order to take over American cities. That's what he did with his life.
Yeah. And deliberately was using it. I didn't play there was like a 5-minute kind of precursor to that. It was all pretty much the same. But just to put it in context, the thing is, you're not allowed to say these things. That's the point. It's courageous for me to say these things.
Yeah, they have to be brave enough to say it. Yeah.
You're not allowed to be tough on crime anymore. You're not allowed to say that like we should put criminals in prison. You made yourself a multimillionaire many times over saying exactly these things. And B, sentenced now. This is, our side is winning. What largely through Charlie Kirk's efforts. Like, not entirely. This is not like we can't say he's uniquely responsible, but Charlie Kirk is a big part of the reason that this is happening right now. This was Charlie Kirk's political project. This was his life. This is what he spent his life doing. What is the legacy of Charlie Kirk? What should be the legacy of Charlie Kirk? That last clip I played. That is the legacy of Charlie Kirk. That is what he went out of this life doing. That was what he loved. That's who he is. and all the airy, the artsy fartsy Ezra Klein, like it was just a man who loved debate, all the things that Halpern, everybody else is going to say about Charlie Kirk. That's not Charlie Kirk. That is Charlie Kirk. What I just played for you, that is Charlie Kirk. Period.
Yeah. Yeah. A lying propagandist furthering a racist fascist agenda, congratulating himself as he does it for being brave enough to say things that are the common currency of the movement that dominates alternative media and that explicitly politically controls the White House, the Senate, the House, and the Supreme Court.
And the Supreme Court, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, you're so fucking brave, Charlie. And I know you got shot, but you didn't think that was going to happen, did you? Let's be honest.
No, he didn't. All right. How do we feel about this one? How do we feel?
Well, I mean, I want to ask you before we go.
Okay.
What do you think the effect is going to be in terms of the rights? I mean, we're already seeing the rights reaction. That we talked a little bit about this. They're immediately jumping to it was the left that did it, and the left. I mean, and of course they define the left as everything from everything from I don't know. Jamie Raskin onwards. What's the project? The Never Trump Republicans. Like the Bill Kristol. Bill Kristol is the left. Bill Kristol and Tim Miller onwards. Is the left.
Exactly.
Yeah, it needs to be suppressed. I mean, and the language is already explicitly violent and repressive and almost exterminationist. I mean, is that what we're looking at? Are we looking at a massive and immediate escalation in legal or even physical repression against dissent?
I see this as kind of possibly a Horst Wessel moment. Is like he becomes a rallying. It becomes a rallying cry. It becomes a symbol. I mean, even now, something that Charlie Kirk used to say all the time, but it's very common parlance is of Donald Trump. They tried to kill him twice because there were two nebulous they. And it's always like, well, that must have been some leftist, who was paid by the Democrats or whatever. Like, it's always vague, but it's always like defined as like there's this nebulous they who is like the enemies of the people who tried to kill our hero Donald Trump twice. And now it's going to be, regardless of who this person ends up being, we don't know. I have no idea who this person is. I'm not going to speculate. I have no data on this. There's no reason for me to know anything more. And
it almost doesn't matter. I mean, it won't matter to them.
That's
if
the
it
point
turns out to have been a fucking groiper, they will continue talking about it as if it was an anarchist trans person hired by the DNC.
Yeah. Well, even if it is a groiper, that just proves that, like, that anti-Semitic side, that those are the real violent ones, and we just need to enact state violence against like those people now. But of course, they're just going to blame it all because they're all anti-Semites. The people who advocate for the murder of Jews and the people who advocate for the lives of Palestinians, that's just anti-Semitism now. That's just all the same thing. There's no division point between that anymore. This is the horseshoe theory, man. They're just anti-Semites on the left and the right. We're the rational center. Yeah.
There's no shortage of Ezra Kleins and Jonathan Chaits and all these people who will line up to say, well, yes, extremism really is all a kind of the same thing. And absolutely.
And the thing is, Ezra Klein, I loved it. Like, he often has this nuance. He often has this like perspective that I really appreciate his takes on some things. And then he does this bullshit. It's like, it's just, I don't know. It's got to be the masthead, right? It's got to be the New York Times brain. You're just, he gave a fawning interview to Ross Douthat. Remember Ross Douthat? He has a podcast now. I listen to his podcast. Yeah. The dumbest man on the planet, Ross Douthat, man. That's not true, but he's pretty dumb. He's pretty dumb.
Yeah, he's pretty dumb.
Maybe we'll do some comedy episodes and we'll do some of those figures. I'll just do 30 minutes and we'll just play some clips and just laugh, just point and laugh at the powerful stupid person. That sounds like a way of like lightening up the mood a little bit. But yeah, no, it's hard to know where this goes. I think he becomes a lionized figure. I think that's what you're already seeing.
Oh sure,
to the degree that they remember him, he may just be forgotten. But I think that the size, I think for one thing, it's going to be used absolutely to justify sending federal troops into cities. It's like, well, they killed Charlie Kirk. He's like a rallying cry for that. And if they could get to Charlie Kirk, they could get to anybody. We need federal troops to like stamp down on crime, regardless of who the killer ends up being.
It happened in Utah though, didn't it? Which is that's pretty rare. They must be really frustrated that it didn't happen somewhere like Detroit or Chicago or something
Right,
like that.
right.
They must be
Yeah.
wishing it had happened there.
Well, Ed Bermilla put out a post on Blue Sky that Utah was the first state or among the first states to allow open carry laws on universities.
Yeah.
The killer onto that university with the rifle, and they had no legal way of stopping him. Like, beside the point, but still, like, no, they're going to use it. They're going to use it for crackdowns everywhere. If it can happen in Salt Lake City, it's not in Salt Lake City, but it's like half an hour out of Salt Lake City. It's in the metro area. If it can happen in Salt Lake City, imagine what they're doing in Chicago and New York and Los Angeles and San Diego. Imagine what they're doing in El Paso. Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely.
It's just it'll absolutely be used, and Trump is already doing it. Trump is already saying, it was like a leftist member or whatever who did this, and it's just going to become true. Through repetition, it becomes true, and they're just going to say, regardless of who this ends up being. And the Megyn Kellys and the Jack Posobiec's and formerly the Charlie Kirks and whoever comes in to take Charlie Kirk's place. This is actually something I did want to mention very briefly, is like, it's unclear what the line of succession is here, because Charlie Kirk kind of built this thing on his own. I don't know that he has like a lieutenant who can step in and like engage in this. So this may very well actively hurt the Republican Party and their ability to get out the vote and everything in like this kind of material way, because this process was so turned over to Charlie Kirk. So
no, I think this will. I actually think this will be a net negative for them.
Yeah,
I really do.
Yeah.
And
on a structural level, but not like a rhetorical level, I think is kind of where I land on that. I think the rhetoric is just going to get, it's going to ramp up to 11. But I think it is.
I don't want to sound like I'm downplaying the inevitable harm that's going to be caused to people by the backlash, because there is going to be a backlash and it is going to cause harm to people. But I think what we're going to see is essentially not much more than an acceleration of a process that was already underway.
Yeah, no.
That's not insignificant, but
it was already coming. They're just going to use this. It's just going to be one more thing. It's just going to be one more thing that they throw on the. And wait for the Charlie Kirk statues. When it happens, I said it first. Maybe not first, but you heard it here I got to it early. I figured this was going to happen. So, all right. That's all I have.
That stupid fucking hairdo in bronze or whatever.
I was like looking at old clips like this afternoon, like kind of getting a sense of who he, and because like a lot of the retrospectives had like clips, and he has had a number of different hairstyles over the years. So I'm just wondering which one they choose to include. Do they make the head as small? Do they make the head as large and the face as small as it was in real life? It's a fascinating question, really. He's gonna look like a bronze Adonis. It's like
I'm pretty sure he sort of shaped that hair to be, because I haven't watched it, but South Park did a sort of Charlie Kirk thing recently.
We were going to cover that. And then it's fine. Go ahead.
They didn't name him, but they have apparently they have Cartman with just the Charlie Kirk hair, and the hair by itself tells you who they're referring to. So Charlie Kirk had managed to make himself a completely recognizable visual identity, which is an incredibly important thing for somebody in politics. If you can do it, it's a big thing, and people do it consciously. I mean, Trump looks, but objectively, Trump looks ridiculous.
Yes.
But he is incredibly visually distinctive. And this is a thing politicians love. They love this. If they can do that. And I think Charlie Kirk very definitely deliberately cultivated that look.
Yeah.
No,
that's
and I think there's always been this thing of sort of mocking the way he looks and stuff. Yeah. He kind of had that. Well, he didn't have the last laugh, obviously, but he had the last laugh on that one, kind of for a while, anyway.
Yeah, no,
yeah.
Okay. Well, not to wish ill of the dead, but I'm not mourning today. Not mourning today.
I got to confess, I'm not sad.
No,
I'm not a sad panda today. No,
a truly terrible person is no longer walking this earth, and it's probably going to mean some worse things for a lot of the best of us, but at least we can take solace in he's not going to be spreading his bullshit anymore, and I don't have to listen to him anymore. Man, that frees so much of my time.
it's all right. One ticked off the list.
One ticked off the list. Do not make a list. That is not.
That sounds worse.
We do not do that. No. I'm not advocating for that. Not in the slightest. I'm going to add Michael Knowles to my. No, I'm not doing that. God, listening to Michael Knowles.
End of podcast. End of podcast. Let's get out quick.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah.
Okay. Well, thanks for listening, everybody, and you know what to do. That sounded bad as well. Sorry. I didn't mean that.